back. Today I'm giving you a tour of the flower farm, and outside of my fenced area, behind me is the deer fence, I added these 3 raised beds to put my dahlias in. I just thought it was easier to maybe lift them at the end of the season. And I'm so happy I did that because the raised bed does bring in a lot more heat, and I noticed that my dahlias started blooming a little bit earlier in the season, so that was a win for sure. And then the second thing I did was add these mini pumpkin mix vines to this arch. So this isn't level, you can see, but I think I'm quite happy with how quirky it looks. And then you can see even the pumpkins are starting to form. We've got some powdery mildew, but you know what? This space isn't perfect, but I'm so thrilled with how it's coming along so far. So yeah, dahlias are doing great. I'm not getting a ton of blooms right now. We did have some cool weather, which sort of slowed down the blooms, but I'm hopeful that I'm going to get a nice good flush before the cool weather comes. I'm not going to go into individual varieties. There's just too many, but if you're curious, we can do another video if you like of some of the close-ups of the varieties. This area here has been really fun as well. This was my old spot for my dahlias. So this year I was able to plant a bunch of different perennials in here to utilize the space. And then last fall I even put some bulbs in. So we had irises and alliums and daffodils blooming in this space. I'm loving it. It's just such a welcome sight before we get into the flower farm, just to see all these beautiful perennials blooming. Mixed with some annuals. These are sweet peas right here, and they're an annual. And this other corner before we get into the fence, more perennials, Rudbeckia, Echinacea, Feverfew, Rudbeckia triloba, the smaller flowers, some Coreopsis, yeah, just different perennials that I love to cut off of, also love to leave for the pollinators. Okay, now here we are at the flower farm. This is the fenced area, and I have had questions about what we did to fence for the deer. So here we are. We mimicked, let me just pan over, we mimicked the 3-rail fence that was existing, the white one right here. And then we started over here with the pressure treated fence. So we did the 3 rails here at the bottom with wire to keep the deer out. And then we did cables on the posts. So you can see these are very high, I want to say 10 feet. And we have 3 cables running just to make sure the deer aren't jumping in. And then we put this piece of pressure treated wood up top too, to make it just look a little bit more aesthetically pleasing, so it wasn't just like a floating post in the middle of nowhere, if that makes sense. So here we are, a little bit more backed up. Again, we're on an angle, but we did the best we could with what we were given. And the doors, or the gate rather, is wide enough for the tractor to come in, but it's rather tight. We wish we would have built it just a few more inches larger on either side, just to make it a little bit more accessible for the tractor, just for end of season cleanup and bringing in compost in the springtime. Okay, here we are inside the fenced area. This area is about 35 by 90, so about 2,000 square foot, if I'm remembering correctly, doing the math properly. And there are 24 individual beds that are 4 by 8 each. So if that helps at all. And then we have this bed that goes parallel with the fence there, and it is about 4 by 90, I guess. And then I did add another bed on this side because I wasn't utilizing it as a pathway. It's a little bit more narrow, 2 or 3 feet deep. I haven't utilized it either. I put a little bit of flowers, seeds down, like just a mix of wildflowers. They didn't all come up because we do have some weed pressure on the other side. This is the road, and there's a lot of weeds coming in on that side. So that's definitely going to be a project for this fall. Maybe cardboard mulching just to eradicate some of the noxious weeds that are coming in on that side. All right, so let's go through the individual beds, and I'll show you what's growing and what I've really enjoyed so far. And then I do have, oh yeah, and also I have 3 roses on either side that are doing really well. They are all David Austin roses, and they're wonderful for cutting. Just super, super beautiful, fragrant, and very prolific bloomers. I love every one of them. Okay, here we are on the left side of the gate. This one is not blooming right now. This one is gorgeous. I will put the name on the screen because I forget. And then we've got our yellow one over here, which is just past blooming on there, but it was also a beautiful one. And we have volunteer sunflowers pretty much everywhere. And then we have some amaranth here. This is, I believe, red spike. This one is a very interesting one, and I think I'm going to save seed from it because it doesn't look like any of the other ones that I'm growing. So I'm wondering if it's a hybrid that sort of seeded itself. And then we have some zinnias in this bed as well. Cosmos here that have yet to bloom, which is unfortunate. And then some foxglove that is on its first year just along the fence there. The other David Austin roses I have, one is here. This is actually, there's a climbing one here that's usually pink. I want to say Generous Gardener. And then this orange one here, again, I'll put the name on the screen. And then these beautiful pink blossoms intermixed with the sweet peas. And then this long bed we have here that I said runs along the fence. We have Cosmos here. This is a new spot this year, and they're not doing as well as I had when they were in the ground here in one of these beds, which is too bad. Bronze fennel, it's a wonderful perennial, wonderful filler, just gives a beautiful interest in your bouquets. This bed has a mix of Chinese forget-me-not, the pink version, beautiful one, and then some more amaranth, but this is just a little bit sad looking. Hardly any height on it. And then mixed in with here also is Agastache, I want to say hummingbird mix. It's been beautiful to grow, but I haven't really reached for it much to use in bouquets. Here we have some Nicotiana. It has reseeded from previous years. Don't use it a ton for cutting. A mix of different zinnias and green tails amaranth. Love this plant, just beautiful. And then we have I want to say Bright Lights Cosmo that also reseeded. I wasn't going to grow it again, but it decided it wanted to be grown again. And then we have Status in this bed. I really enjoy Status. Status is a great filler. More Status in this bed as well with a few different colors. If I can get closer. These are snapdragons that have perennialized. They are from last year and they're doing quite well. The sort of darker foliage one, that one's called Black Prince. Really, really love this snapdragon. And on this side we have Larkspur. I'm not sure if I'll grow it again. I can't say it's my favorite to use. And then we've got some Shabbat dianthus. Really pretty plant. The stems don't seem super strong, but it's a really pretty plant, and it seems to come out with different variegations. Really pretty. I had poppies in this bed. You can see there's still some heads left here, but now the zinnias that I planted are starting to come up and bloom. Here is my Lisianthus with one bloom, it looks like starting to come. Started in November and I'm just getting a bloom now. Unbelievable. Not sure if I'll be using that again. But on a positive note, I've got my stalk reblooming, which is quite exciting. And then I also wanted to make sure I was using this bed, so I also put in some Sweet William, which is a biennial, so next year it'll be blooming. So this bed isn't completely empty, because once the stalk was done, I put the Lisianthus in. Once the Lisianthus is done, the Sweet William will be there for next year. Really trying to focus on more intercropping and planning out my beds to get as much harvesting as I can. Here we have annual scabiosa. I don't love this one. It's a mix, and I mostly got this bluish purple color. So next year I plan to grow the burgundy and pink one because I just didn't use this one as much as I thought I would. But definitely a prolific bloomer. These are all second year snaps as well. More of the black prints and then different ones mixed in here. Lots of good blooms and cuts off of this bed. Here we have some more zinnias. I believe that's the polar bear zinnia. We have a sleeping bee. I did try cover cropping this year. You can see I used it as mulch in here. So this is winter rye. It's all right. I think the soil texture is good. I'm not sure about my nutrients. Just the size of these zinnias aren't as great as I would want them to be. Here's a volunteer hollyhock and first year snaps. I've gotten a ton of good cuts out of this bed. I'm really loving the color choice too that I've planted in here as well. Very usable with soft peaches, sort of these sunsetty colors as well, soft reds, muted, and lots of yellow and soft pinks. Very usable. Really enjoying this bed as well. And here we are with more zinnias. I believe these are Oklahoma salmon, and I think it might be my top zinnia for this year. Just a beautiful flower. And then maybe more polar bear back there. Just can't get enough of the zinnias. I just love them as a cut flower. Another bed, a rather messy looking bed, but also with more zinnias. I guess I did a lot of Oklahoma salmon, but I'm not mad about that. Nice little dandelion beside some maybe Colorado mix yarrow. Oh, and then we've got some Queenie mix zinnias over here. Beautiful, sort of dusty colored. These I bought from a local zinnia breeder, and they're supposed to be a little bit more specialty. And I think they are. You can see the ombre look on this zinnia. She's called Windfall Zinnias, and she's breeding zinnias in BC. Some of them look a little average because it was a mix, but some of them are just so stunning. That ombre look is just so beautiful. And I have to say they're very prolific bloomers as well. The plants are probably healthier than my other zinnias. Strong, resilient, prolific bloomers. Very, very good. Oh, and there's another emerald, maybe that's a green tails amaranth, I'm not sure. And then on this bed we've got a volunteer rudbeckia, some more zinnias, and this is Dara. This is the second flush, so it's not as large, but it's a beautiful filler as well. I really love this plant, and it seems to self-seed. And then we have some volunteer red orach, which is a beautiful plant for bouquets. I really love this. Really love that it's self-seeding. And then we have some gladiolus babies that I guess I didn't dig up. So they're just here and they perennialized, which is great because in our zone we typically don't get gladiolus that are coming back. So they're sort of mixed in amongst the straw flowers. Here we have the burgundy deep color. Beautiful. I really, really love that. With a pink, it just looks so beautiful. And then we've got a white straw flower here. And then this sort of peachy apricot. I love straw flowers. They bloom really well for me. The stem length is great on them. We'll always grow straw flowers. Here is another bed of straw flowers. This bright yellow one, not as usable, but very beautiful. I don't tend to gravitate to the bright yellows. But I grew a lot of that apricot color and I really love that. So I've got 2 full beds of straw flowers here. And then I just threw in some squash plants because why not? And then here I have some nigella. I don't really love Nigella, but it's here. And then this is Pearly Everlasting. I thought I would try it since straw flowers do so well for me, but I don't seem to love it as much. It just looks a little bit more weedy the way it is right there. But the stems are strong and tall, and it blooms pretty prolifically. Another plant that I'm unsure about is Clarkia. This is Elegant Salmon. Not sure if I'll grow that again. It just looks a little bit weedy to me. They did look better earlier in the season, but this one looks a little bit rough. Then we've got some more amaranth that reseeded there. I love that for a filler. So happy when it sort of self-seeds and takes over. And then we have my sunflower mess. So the two back beds here amongst all the weeds, and then this back bed that goes across the width of the fence. So these three areas are all sunflowers. And I have to say, I don't cut off them that much, but I sure love having them here. I did do some of the Pro Cut series, which are done, and now these are all the branching varieties that take over. It's just my way of giving it back to the bees and the birds and the squirrels. The squirrels come and collect the sunflowers, of course. This bed we've got some cosmos, some more of the red orach. Love that plant. If you like the texture of that and the color, I would definitely recommend that plant. Some more sunflowers that self-seeded, and then this is fun. This is a squash I threw in here just to utilize some of the not used space. These are birdhouse gourds, and I cannot wait. I'm hoping to get a bunch of them so I can hang them on every tree and give back to the birds. And then we have some annual phlox in here. It seemed to wilt for me in the vase, so I'm not sure if I'll grow that again, or maybe I just haven't figured it out completely yet. And these poor little eucalyptus plants were shaded out by this volunteer sunflower because obviously I hadn't planned for it. So I reclaimed some of the space, and I'm hoping to get a little bit more of this echinacea to grow, or not echinacea, eucalyptus. Otherwise, I will be pulling it and potting it up and overwintering it because it's a prime plant on a flower farm. Okay, and here we have honeywort. I'm not sure if this one reseeded or if I planted it, but I definitely saved seeds from it from another year, and I love this plant. Just the succulent texture and those beautiful purple blossoms. I really, really like this plant. I think I'll always grow honeywort. And then more Rudbeckia and Orach. I want to say this is the Cresto series of the zinnia. Really fun look on that one. And then here's the pollinator wildflower mixed border I did. So I've got Gaillardia, Rudbeckia, Echinacea, Lupin, Agastaki, Mexican hat, I want to call it. All different colors, some perennial sweet peas back there. And then I planted 2 9-barks. Here's one, and there's one there, just to use off when they're a little bit larger. I really like having this space. It's a little bit wild, but zero maintenance, and nature loves it. And the last area is yarrow. It seems to have reverted back to the common white, so I'm going to have to pull this out and replant with a little bit more of the beautiful pink color, like this one. This one's so pretty. The white is just too common to include in my bouquets. I don't tend to use it. But the pink, I cannot get enough of the pink. Well, that wraps up my tour for the flower farm. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope it was interesting. If you have any questions, let me know. Happy to share whatever I have experienced so far as a flower farmer. Thanks for joining me, and I'll see you next time. Bye.